What's that?
The fence.
What's inside?
People.
What's outside?
I am a very big fan of the second game. It's probably one of my favorite video games of all time.
Same.
So, yeah, obviously it kind of has to be. It would be weird if you said it wasn't. But I've been waiting for this for a while. I'm sure it's been much longer for you. First off, the season 2 premiere is a very good start to the season. So congratulations on that. And I'm sure it's terrifying to write an entire season of a show, but is it also kind of terrifying to, direct the season premieres to set the tone for the season?
Oh, I think it might, as terrified as I am all the time, by the way. I don't want to suggest that I'm not. I'd probably be a little bit more terrified if I weren't directing the first one, because it does give me a chance to prep all of it. There's so many decisions that are going to echo out across an entire season. You get an opportunity as the director of the first episode to set a lot of that in place. So what it means is that I'm showing up and prepping for a much longer time than is typical for a director, because I do have to prep everything for that season. And it gives me a little bit of and just more of a sense of security that, okay, the things that Neil and I are going for, we're gonna get accomplished and put down. And so we're gonna build Jackson, and right now it's just this big old gravel lot, but look out, here we go. And so I actually love that part of it.
And it turned out really amazing, as I said before.
Thank you.
But by the newer characters alone in this season, we've got the WLF group, we have Jesse and Dina coming in. There's a really greater focus on, the younger generation of survivors, the one that were born and raised in the apocalypse. How has this shift in focus kind of impacted the overall series story compared to the first season?
It's a great question. I love writing those characters because they don't have all this baggage that Joel has, or Tess had, or Marlene. They don't know any other world. And their angst, their worries, their concerns are pure to them and their circumstances and their time. Ellie doesn't understand that her relationship with Joel is loaded with all of what he experienced losing his own daughter. She's aware that he lost his daughter. She's aware of how important she is to him in that context. She wasn't there. We were.
Mm-hmm.
Joel was. She was not. And now she is having an experience and growing relationships with people like Dina that are of their own. They are of their own time and place. I am increasingly aware as I get older and older that, there's something magical about people in their 20s and 30s. There's something that time, they really do make our culture, and it comes out of them, and their fandom and their love for it is what makes it keep going. And they get to experience that. And it's important for us to not just constantly hammer them over the head with, well, before iPhones, they don't need to hear that. And
Yeah.
I think I'm kind of on like Ellie and Dina's side, like let the kids are all right. Let them be in charge.
Mm-hmm. As someone in my 20s, I completely agree. I kind of have to. And I really find myself in Ellie and Dina in so many ways, and in Abby. So thank you for bringing them to life for television. I want to discuss one of the biggest changes from the game to show, which I'm sure you've already talked about today, establishing Joel and Dina's relationship. I thought that was a really interesting move. What informed that change, and how does that affect their individual arcs this season?
Something that Neil and I talked about quite a bit was the idea that in the game, Dina has a gameplay function, and her gameplay function is your sidekick. A little bit the way Ellie's gameplay function was sidekick to Joel. You control Joel, Ellie moves around. Now you're controlling Ellie, Dina moves around. And as Isabella Merced said, occasionally Dina gets in your way and looks back at you when you shoot her and is like, seriously? Happens all the time. But on our show, that's not a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So in talking about Dina, we thought it was really important to connect her to Joel, because Joel means something to this community. And just as Ellie has resentments to Joel that are born out of the nature of their relationship and how close it is, other people don't. And just as, Joel has this kid who's maybe not talking to him, that kid's fine with him. She's even asking him cool questions like, "Oh, how do you do your job? How does a circuit breaker work?" Dina cares a lot about Joel. And Dina recognizes that Joel is a pillar of this community because she doesn't know what he did. That's not part of her experience of him. Her experience of Joel is a peaceful man who helps build homes and makes this community run. And he's gentle and kind. And what that means is as we go forward, anything that happens to Joel or Ellie or their relationship is going to impact Dina too. Her investment is not simply, I'm here to kind of help you, Ellie, do whatever it is that you want to do.
And, nailing the grander scale of the story is obviously very important for any TV show. But, in this season, were there any little unique details that you really wanted to include, kind of for yourself, that was just the cherry on top of the entire Sunday?
Oh boy, there are a ton. I mean, some of them are things that, just as was the case in season one, Neil told me, okay, well, Hallie and I had thought about putting this in the game. We just didn't have time or the ability. And I was like, ooh,
Mhm.
I'm taking that. Um, Sometimes it is the little things that just, make me smile. I mean, just saying, green place market's fun. Those are little fun things, but there are, I can think of one example where we have a character that's referenced in the second game. We never meet him. We read about him. People talk about him, but he's already dead and gone by the time we are playing, and so he's just not part of it. And we integrate him, and we do meet him. Eventually, we will meet him this season, and we will understand how he fits into this story, and more importantly, how his story directly impacts Joel and Ellie's story,
Mhm.
and how they feel about each other and how they end up feeling about each other.
And I'm going to take a wild guess that you're talking about Eugene.
Good
Uh,
guess.
the guy, yes, yes.
Nailed it.
Yeah. And that actually leads into my next question. We meet Kat, who we don't meet in the game, but, we read through Ellie's journal about
Yeah.
her and Dina and Ellie's conversation. And we also talk about Eugene. Um, is there a chance we're going to meet any more characters that we often read about in notes or just through dialogue in the second game?
There's always a chance. But I will say also that the show's not done yet, right? So we have more story to tell. And I'm always looking, I like to call it looking on the inside for things. Because what happens is as you're developing a story, you think, what would be great is if something like this happened to help it flesh this story out or expand it. Well, you could bring somebody, you can invent somebody, but why don't we look inside? Who's here? Who's part of the roster? Is there a way to integrate the people that are already part of this universe, even if we haven't met them? So I'm always on the lookout for those people and stay tuned.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be on the lookout. And in the season 2 premiere, Ellie gets bit again, and you think by some point she would just be, more careful of her life,
Yeah.
but I guess not. But the last time she was bitten, it was in season 1, episode 2, to kind of prove to Joel and Tess in some way, she's not infected. She's immune. What is the significance of her getting bitten this time around, and does it carry
Yeah.
that much weight?
It does. So there are a couple of things about that matter. The first is that Ellie encounters a kind of infected that she has not encountered before. None of them have. They've gotten kind of complacent about how they deal with the infected in our show. It's been 5 years. They're getting good at it. They're no longer terrified at the sound of a clicker. Um, and that kind of mirrors the experience as a gamer. As you go through the story, you get good at it. You remember the first time you encountered clickers in the first game, you were like, "Guh." Okay, the time you're like, "Okay, it's my 19th time hearing clickers in the subway station. I'm not gonna okay, I know the strategy."
Mhm.
So here's somebody that breaks that rhythm for Ellie, and more importantly, she fails this test. If she were anyone else, she would be infected.
Yeah.
The end of story. So that failure matters. That is going to ring forward and be very relevant as we go forward. Her understanding that she is not as good as she thinks she is, not just yet. And the other aspect of it is it underscores something about Ellie's immunity that I remember talking with Neil a lot about, and that is that Ellie has a kind of superpower in this world. And The question is, what is she going to do about it? She's been hiding it this whole time. At some point, is this a truth she shares with other people? And obviously for Ellie and for another character in particular in this story, the idea of secrets and letting people know who you really are has more dimensions than just whether or not you're immune.
I sense more danger ahead based on that answer, obviously.
Just
Just a little.
touch.